I'm sure that not one soul outside of India will consider the iQOO Neo 7 Pro as competition to the Nothing Phone 2. But in India, it's a very vital comparison, primarily because the iQOO Neo 7 Pro comes with the same Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 that is found inside the Nothing Phone 2. But that's not it. When I tested the iQOO Neo 7 Pro, it was pretty good in camera performance as well, which is why we need to find out if you should save some money and buy the iQOO Neo 7 Pro instead of the Nothing Phone 2. If you're here for the very first time, I'm Ashad, you're watching Trakin English, your destination for detailed, incisive gadget reviews. Now, whether you like the glyph pattern design on the Nothing Phone 2 or not, I'm sure that you'll agree that it looks very different from most other candy bar designs out there, which were getting generally stale. For example, we have the Neo 7 Pro, which actually has the same industrial design as many previous iQOO phones that we have seen, and it's getting a little boring now. That's not it. The iQOO Neo 7 Pro has a plastic frame compared to the metal frame on the Nothing Phone 2, which gives it a far more premium feel. Moreover, what I noticed in my testing period is that since you get a wider mid frame, it's easier to hold the Nothing Phone 2, and that slight little curve on the rear makes it sit very nicely in the hand. Now, in this frosted glass variant of the iQOO Neo 7 Pro, it does get slightly slippery, but the vegan leather variant should offer you a better grip, but it's also heavier, so keep that in mind. Nothing also reinforces the build quality by giving you Gorilla Glass 5 protection on the back, Gorilla Glass 5 protection on the front as well. Now, whereas on the iQOO Neo 7 Pro, I don't know if there's a glass protection on the rear, but you do get short sensation up protection on the front. The Phone 2 also has IP54 rating, whereas the iQOO Neo 7 Pro has a slightly lower IP52 rating. So when you look at the overall build quality of the phone, the Nothing Phone 2 is superior. Although one functional advantage on the Neo 7 Pro is that you get an infrared blaster for when you want to switch off your neighbor's television. Now, as for the similarities, you get a Type-C 2.0 port at the bottom. For performance-oriented phones, that's not really ideal. It should have been Type-C 3.1. And both these phones also have a SIM card tray which accepts dual nano SIM cards. Now, there's a speaker grill at the bottom of both these phones, and they actually have the earpiece doubling up as the secondary speaker. I'll talk about the speaker performance a little later. So overall, when you look at the design and the build quality, whether you're looking at it objectively or subjectively, I think the Nothing Phone 2 does actually beat the iQOO Neo 7 Pro, and it better do that primarily because it's also far more expensive. Now, one similarity between these phones is that you get a flat AMOLED panel, which I prefer over curved panels. On the iQOO Neo 7 Pro, you get a 6.78-inch display, whereas on the Nothing Phone 2, you get 6.7 inches. Now, let's talk about the distinctive features of each display. Both these phones offer a high refresh rate of 120 Hz. But Nothing's panel is an LTPO panel, which means that you can switch between 1 Hz to 120 Hz, which should definitely help with better battery performance. In fact, when I was using both of these displays, the display and the animations themselves felt much smoother on the Nothing Phone 2 in regular usage compared to the iQOO Neo 7 Pro. By the way, you get a touch sampling rate of 240 Hz on the Nothing Phone 2, whereas you get 360 Hz on the Neo 7 Pro with an instant touch sampling rate, which jumps up to 1200 Hz. Interestingly, Nothing also offers an instant TSR. I don't know what the number exactly is, but it is available in the experimental mode, and I don't know if you can really tell the difference even when you're gaming. Overall, the touch response on both these phones feels good and responsive, but the way the UI responds to these touches and the animations move, that feels faster on the Nothing Phone 2. Now, the Nothing Phone 2 has a peak brightness of 1600 nits. The iQOO Neo 7 Pro has 1300 nits when you're watching HDR content. But when I did watch YouTube HDR videos on both the phones, I couldn't really tell the difference in brightness. Talking about HDR playback on YouTube, the HDR playback tuning is done well on Nothing. The highlight control is better than the iQOO Neo 7 Pro, which could have been slightly better. But what's the point of such good HDR tuning if you can't watch HDR videos on Netflix? Because Nothing tells me that support for HDR on Netflix is not going to come to the Phone 2. With the iQOO Neo 7 Pro, you do get HDR support. Now, the color accuracy of the displays on both these phones is pretty good. You get professional tuning with DCI-P3 color gamut tuning on the iQOO Neo 7 Pro, whereas you get the standard color mode, which is of course more closer to natural on the Nothing Phone 2. Don't switch to the Alive mode, it just makes things a little too saturated. Overall, display color accuracy wise, both are equally matched. Now, when I was testing the haptic feedback, it's uncanny how similar the haptic feedback experience is on both the phones. They're not very tight, but you do get that precise vibration feedback. It's slightly soft though. Of course, these are not the best phones for great haptic feedback. For that, you'll have to look at OnePlus, Oppo, Realme phones with OHaptics, or a Google or a Samsung phone. Now, both the phones also do offer in-display fingerprint scanners, but iQOO's tech has evolved over the period, and it's much faster to unlock the phone compared to the Nothing Phone 2. You have to hold for a slightly longer time on the Phone 2 for it to unlock. You can feel that little bit of delay, but on the iQOO Neo 7 Pro, it doesn't happen. It's very instantaneous. Now, I must mention this, the Neo 7 Pro also has an additional display chip using which you can do game frame interpolation. What that means is that for certain games that require higher frame rates from 60 FPS to 90 FPS or 120 FPS, that can be done using software and hardware frame interpolation. Although, you know what, I've not been able to actually ascertain if the frame rate is actually jumping, but still, I mean, that's an option that's there. As for the speaker performance, let me tell you that both these phones do not offer Dolby Atmos, but when I tested them side by side, the iQOO Neo 7 Pro definitely sounds richer, fuller, and more detailed compared to the Nothing Phone 2, which does get louder, but the bass tends to kill the mids. Take a listen for yourself and let me know what you guys think. So overall, when you look at it, both the phones are almost evenly matched when it comes to display. If the Nothing Phone 2 has LTPO and higher brightness, the iQOO Neo 7 Pro offers HDR support on Netflix right out of the box, and you get that special display chip for game frame interpolation as well. Alright, we're all very well aware of the fact that both these phones actually have the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, LPDDR5 RAM, and UFS 3.1 storage. Let's take a look at what the synthetic benchmarks revealed. So in our AnTuTu version 9 test, the Neo 7 Pro scored higher than the Nothing Phone 2, whereas in version 10, the Nothing Phone 2 scored slightly higher than the Neo 7 Pro, so evenly matched. In Geekbench 6, you do get higher scores on the Nothing Phone 2 compared to the iQOO Neo 7 Pro. Again, not much separating the two really. The first real difference we saw in synthetic benchmark was in our CPU throttling test, where the iQOO Neo 7 Pro in our 40-thread, 30-minute test was actually more stable compared to the Phone 2. The Phone 2 does throttle earlier. But in our 3D Mark wildlife stress test, the Nothing Phone 2 actually was more stable than the iQOO Neo 7 Pro. See, benchmark numbers can sometimes be weird. Sometimes it works in the favor of one phone and sometimes in the favor of the other phone. But both these phones have 8 Plus Gen 1. So what we wanted to actually test was how would it perform in real world gaming performance, and that's when we tested Genshin Impact for 30 minutes and captured the average frame rates. And that's where the iQOO Neo 7 Pro actually does stay stable for longer because we got a higher average FPS compared to the Nothing Phone 2. This is despite the fact that on the iQOO Neo 7 Pro, when I was doing the Genshin Impact test, I was running into more loading screens because I was going into missions more often than the Nothing Phone 2. So if I hadn't done that, the average FPS would actually have been higher. But one thing I'm really happy to report is that both these phones do not get hot at all. Even after 30 minutes of Genshin Impact, they get about 38 to 41 degrees, which is not too bad at all. So what I noticed with the Nothing Phone 2 when I'm using it is that in regular everyday usage, when you're doing social media, emails and the likes, that time the Nothing Phone 2 is much faster, much more responsive and smoother. That's also because of the hardware software integration that Nothing has managed to do. But the iQOO Neo 7 Pro is a gamer's delight because it doesn't throttle as much when you're playing long gaming sessions. Also, you get dedicated motion controls, advanced gyroscope controls as well, and you also get that game frame interpolation chip too. Overall, I'd say both are equally matched for the most part when it comes to performance, except for the fact that the Neo 7 Pro pulls slightly ahead when it comes to core gaming features and actual gaming performance. Now, since the thermal efficiency is good on both the phones, you do also get great battery life. I've already mentioned that the Nothing Phone 2 has great battery life. I got a screen on time of anywhere between 6.5 hours to 7 hours. And if you're looking at it from a daily usage perspective, then by the end of the day, if you're putting it in a charger, it'll have like 20% left. The iQOO Neo 7 Pro does come very, very close. I got about 6 to 6.5 hours of screen on time and about 15% left in the tank at the end of the day. So it's very little separating the two. Although the Neo 7 Pro definitely has one ace up its sleeve, and that's the fact that you get 120 watt fast charging speeds. So you can charge the phone in under 25 minutes from 0 to 100, which is fantastic. On the Nothing Phone 2, it'll take 55 minutes for a full charge with a compatible 45 watt charger, which you have to buy separately, by the way. But the Nothing Phone 2 has a premium feature, which is 15 watt wireless charging, and of course 5 watt reverse wireless charging is also supported. Now the round is a bit of a tie. If the Nothing Phone 2 has slightly better battery life and wireless charging, the iQOO Neo 7 Pro comes very close in terms of battery life, but it has much faster charging speeds. I'm really curious. Do you care about faster charging speeds or an extra wireless charging feature? Now, with respect to network performance, the Phone 2 and the iQOO Neo 7 Pro are fantastic. You get support for almost every single 5G band that is needed in India. Airtel 5G work really well. The speeds are very fast. No complaints there. One legit advantage that you get for paying extra for the Nothing Phone 2 is that you get support for NFC. So I like using NFC a lot, so it does come in handy. The Neo 7 Pro doesn't have it. Alright, the one area where the Nothing Phone 2 beats the iQOO Neo 7 Pro comprehensively is in software performance. The Nothing OS 2 experience with Android 13 on the Phone 2 is far more refined, it's much cleaner, and it's a blow-to-head free compared to FunTouch OS 13 on Android 13, which you get with the iQOO Neo 7 Pro. The monochrome designed icons and the widgets definitely is some sort of visual identity that Nothing is going for after having acquired Block. And I like the experience. It's very, very premium and refined, and the UI UX experience is not nearly as cool on FunTouch OS, which you're all probably already aware of. But yes, on FunTouch OS 13 there are some extra features. The number of animations that you have for different functions on the phone is just nuts. And apart from that, you got features like a simple mode, smart motion, all of those things. So yeah, it's definitely feature rich, but not as refined. Furthermore, on the Nothing Phone 2, Nothing promises 3 years of software updates and 4 years of security updates, whereas in the iQOO Neo 7 Pro, you get promised 2 years and 3 years. The only thing that I want Nothing to do is to give you these updates on time, but still, this is good enough. Alright, let's talk about the camera performance. Finally, I've kept it for the last, but we've already established that the Nothing Phone 2 does take good looking pictures, but it is definitely inconsistent. If you haven't seen our review and comparison against the OnePlus 11R, go check it out. This is the right opportunity for you to do it. A card should pop up right now. But how does the Phone 2's cameras stack up against the Neo 7 Pro? Let's find out. Now, the 50 megapixel Samsung GN5 inside the Neo 7 Pro is slightly old, so iQOO has to use an over sharpening algorithm to sharpen out the details. The details on the IMX 890 inside the Phone 2 are naturally sharp when you look at the 100% crop. Now, while Nothing's HDR algorithm has moved into advanced HDR now, with it doing 8-frame multi-stack processing instead of 3, iQOO uses Vivo's HDR algorithm, which has been refined for so many years that it looks very, very good. What I noticed is that it can definitely pull out more details from the shadows, as you can tell in the tree in front of the house here. Plus, if there are sharp sources of LED lights, the Neo 7 Pro has pinpoint accuracy in controlling the highlights. iQOO also tends to make colors warmer than usual, so you will see deeper, oranger reds and more intense blues as well. Nothing has absolutely nailed the color science on the Phone 2 here. In fact, even the skin tones are close to accurate on the Phone 2 here in this shot of our designer Anuj. Against the light, HDR pictures of people look good on both, with the correct exposure on the face and a nice highlight control on the rear as well. But Phone 2's portrait algorithm needs a lot of work. A lot of work. Just look at the iQOO here in comparison. Even if the skin tones are too warm, the portrait edge detection and the depth mapping is so much better. The Nothing Phone 2's low light performance is good, but not the best. In fact, the Neo 7 Pro brings out more details from the darker portions of the image. I even saw more details in general, and sometimes, the finer text was far more legible on the Neo 7 Pro shot compared to the Phone 2. Nothing's 50MP ultra-wide-angle camera is sharper than the 8MP one on the iQOO Neo 7 Pro, but that was to be expected. However, when it comes to the field of view, both are almost equally wide. But even when it comes to ultra-wide HDR, iQOO continues to perform better than Nothing, even despite the fact that, iQOO has a much lower resolution camera. However, having a larger sensor for the ultra-wide on the Nothing Phone 2 means that it can pull in more light in low-light situations and hence more details as well. As for the color sense consistency, both do not offer any consistency whatsoever, which is a huge letdown. The ultrawide also enables macro shooting capabilities on the Phone 2, and the details from the Phone 2's macro compared to the Neo 7 Pro's 2MP macro is far, far more detailed. Selfies on the Neo 7 Pro are good, definitely better than what we achieved on the OnePlus 11R, but it still doesn't match the details and the skin tones that we've gotten with the Phone 2. Phone 2's selfie camera performance is very well tuned. However, HDR selfies and portrait selfies are equally matched on both the phones. Now, as for video recording, that's where Nothing has an advantage. While both the phones can shoot 4K 60fps videos, what I noticed is that the Phone 2 offers better stabilization, much higher bitrate, so you get more details, and a much richer sound quality as well.
Both are using its primary lenses to shoot this video.
The phone 2's low light video recording is also of better quality compared right next to the iQOO Neo 7 Pro. You get higher contrast levels, and the higher bitrate also ensures that the footage just looks so much better, like the video is taken from a proper flagship phone. Again, since the ultra wide angle camera has higher resolution, you also do get 4K 60 FPS video recording using the ultra wide on the phone 2. So yeah, I mean, compared to Neo 7 Pro's 1080p 30 FPS footage, you know which one is better. Now, front camera video recording quality is also possible at higher 60 frames on the phone 2. Plus, the stabilization and details look good, and you get better sound recording as well, where it cuts a lot of the external noise.
Front video sample of the Nothing Phone 2 and the iQOO Neo 7 Pro. Front video sample of the Nothing Phone 2 and the iQOO Neo 7 Pro.
So when you're looking at overall camera performance, I'd pick the Nothing Phone 2 over the iQOO Neo 7 Pro. That's with a caveat though, because the Neo 7 Pro for its asking price does great photography, so much so that I think that it does take better looking pictures than the OnePlus 11R. That is something that I'm going to test out really soon as well, so stay subscribed for that video. Alright, let's evaluate the product for their benefit without worrying about Nothing brand or iQOO brand. So when you look at the Phone 2, clearly, it's meant for people who want a different looking design, people who want to stand out. But there are people who probably don't even like the glyph lights that much. Now, for those people, put this phone in a case and you can enjoy the other premium features like wireless charging, a supremely awesome software experience that you get with it, and of course, good performance with Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, plus decent set of cameras, which I think will get better over time when Nothing starts issuing updates. Of course, you have to pay that much more for it. It costs 45,000 for the base variant, or 3,000 off with Access Bank, so 42,000 bare minimum. In comparison, for much lower price, the base variant of the iQOO Neo 7 Pro is at 35,000, and you can actually buy it for as low as 31,000, which is just crazy, man. You get great performance, no doubt, and it's a gamer's delight with the kind of motion controls and features that you get. And like I've mentioned, the camera performance, when you want to use the phone for cameras, it's pretty good. So I'll put the ball in your court. Which one would you pick? Would you save some money and rather pick the iQOO Neo 7 Pro, or would you go for something cool and vibrant like the Nothing Phone 2? Let me know in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.